to the cloud. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is September. Why am I saying June? September 23rd, the Monday just before Career Fair, which is September 25th. On the call, we have Ayo, Hasib, Jayshree, and Ruben, who I just met at the Career Fair drop-in session. I see we have Teresa, Carbo. If you could please rename yourselves to the names that you want to get called on this recording, I would appreciate it. That would be great. Thank you. Before we proceed, any hot burning questions from the class before I begin? Turn on
I
your
don't have
camera
any
for a quick second,
questions.
please,
Yeah,
if you can.
okay. Yeah. I don't have any question in particular, but let's see, as you progress, I do have questions on that.
Yes. So you can interrupt at any time. I'm going to show you
Mm-hmm.
some shortcuts. Obviously, we don't have time to go into a full-blown resume work, which you
Mm-hmm.
normally have done. But yes, please ask questions, raise your hands, or just unmute yourself and speak. Welcome to Steve, Jayshree, Ruben,
I have a
Ayo,
question.
Teresa, Sai Surya, Satwika, and Deepa. Yes, Ayo, please go ahead.
Okay, so for the career fair, do we upload our resumes to Handshake,
No.
or can we just bring them in person?
Yes, because a career fair realizes not connected to Handshake. This is like you going to a job fair somewhere else. So the resume that you could have possibly uploaded in Handshake is going to be separate from the career fair. They will not see these things. If you need to print your own copies to bring to the career fair. Good
Thank
question,
you.
Ayo. Anybody else? No questions? All right, I will jump into it. Sharing your screen, resume efficiency. So resume in a time crunch like this, everybody's supposed to be getting the resumes ready for Wednesday, for example, to the career fair, Thursday at best, because you have one extra day to prepare it on Wednesday if you were planning on attending Thursday. What's the best way to improve an existing resume? Jump in. I want to hear people's ideas. What do you think is the best way to improve an existing resume at the last minute? Any ideas? No ideas. I guess that's why you guys are on this session.
Well, I have an idea. I don't know if it's a good
Okay.
idea though. So is it a good idea to put your upcoming like certifications on your resume or things you're working on?
Upcoming certifications. Okay, that's a good idea. Hold that thought, please. And if I don't bring it up, I will bring it up when we talk about that part. So the Ayo just said, would it be a good idea to put in the certifications? And I will address that very specifically because it's not as cut and dry as yes or no. So good question, Ayo. Who else? So ideally, you address all of these. So you want to create your resume to stand out from the employer's perspective and their job description. When you go to a career fair, you do not necessarily have a job description, so you need to stand out from the employer's perspective still with information that you did research on about their company. Any questions about the first bullet? And why do you think it's important? So Jayshree, what do you think? Why is the first bullet important, Jayshree?
To be unique.
Very good. Because you want to be unique to them. Anybody else?
To stand out from the crowd.
Very good, Satwika. So for your resume to stand out, because there's a bunch of people applying for the same jobs, you need to stand out so you get noticed, and hopefully they will call you because of what you wrote out in your resume for an interview. Good answers. So why do you think the second bullet is important? What do you think most people normally do in their resumes instead of doing the second bullet?
They just try to explain the role they have done and not the results most of the time. And due to that reasons, they confuse the HR.
Say that again.
Yeah, see, most of the people that they put the description that they put after the job they have done, they just put a basic description without noting down the results. And due to that reasons, it just confused the HR regarding the
Well, it doesn't really
positions.
confuse them. It's more of you're
Mhm.
not giving them what they want. So
Oh, okay.
that was a good answer. That was a good
Hmm.
answer in that you really want to give them what they're looking for. And what they're looking for is somebody who already has results in what they want.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay, very
Okay.
good. So how about the third bullet? It's saying focus on the reader being extremely busy. Do hiring managers and hiring people have a lot of time or little time?
They don't have a lot of time because they have
They
a
don't
lot
have a
of
lot of
resumes to
time.
go through. Yeah.
Yes, so usually if they're very busy, they become human parsers and they're only resonating with the relevant information that they want. How do you know what they want? This is gonna be a long session, guys, if you don't participate, because I can keep quiet, but you're wasting your time.
We have to highlight the main points that matches their job description since they have very less time, and they can decide on the skills that we have.
That they have. Okay. Satwika, since you're participating, do you want to be the first case study? You want to share your screen and let's talk about your resume, if you wish?
Yes, obviously. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for volunteering. So let's make you the first case study.
Yeah.
So
I'll
Satwika, I'm going to stop sharing. Feel free to share your screen. And then I want you to go to the LinkedIn group to talk about the same design principles that we just spoke about.
okay.
So
What the
Ruben, this is some of the things that we talked about at the ballroom at MTCC. So I will start connecting this. Sorry, Satwika, you were saying?
I said give me a minute, I'll share my resume.
Okay. So while we're doing that, resume design principles will be as follows. Number one, you need to think about the job description, about your audience, okay? In the absence of a job description, like at the career fair, you need to do some research about the company. So you're talking about the things that they want in their company, and you are not just giving them words about you in a vacuum. In a vacuum, meaning you're just doing it independent of what they want. To be effective, you need to be quote unquote speaking their language. And then number two that we spoke of was hiring managers and HR people. These guys don't really have a whole lot of time. They become human parsers, only looking for what they said that they wanted via the job descriptions. So if you're not necessarily speaking their language, and since they're flooded with a bunch of resumes, if you do not take these things into account, you run the risk of your resume going to the garbage can. Any questions about that while we're waiting for Satwika, about the points that I just spoke of? So Io asked the question about certification. To kind of answer the question about certification, Io, my question to you when you ask that question is, was that required in the job description?
So that's a little tough to answer because,
Yeah.
as you
Okay,
said, the
actually, I
career
got the
fairs.
answer right there with the way that you answered it. It's need to be a definite yes or a no.
Oh,
Tough to answer means no.
no, no. Yeah, final-ish answer
Yeah, but you understand why we're talking about that, Io?
for sure.
Because if
Yes.
it's not what they're looking for, then you run the risk of being considered not relevant, even if the rest of your information was. So now do you understand why it wasn't a one size fits all answer? It's really dependent on what they want
Yes.
and what you have to offer. Make
Yes.
sense?
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, good. Thank you, Io. Satwika, did you start sharing and then you changed your mind? What's going on?
No, I was waiting for the conversation to end so that I can
Oh,
go
no,
ahead.
no, no. I was creating conversation so we could wait for you. So actually,
Oh,
could you
okay.
make it, can you zoom in a little bit? Go ahead.
Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, but zoom in. There you go. Satwika, Sriram, Chicago, Illinois. I would put 60616, the school zip code or wherever you live. I like how you have a US number and you did not put +1. So that's very good. Satwika, are you applying for full-time or internship?
A internship.
Internship, very good. So internship applications
Like right
usually,
now, I'm just eligible for internship. So from
I got
next
that.
year, yeah.
I got that. So that's why we have education, Bachelor of Engineering. So can you open up? We're going to be going back and forth between your resume and some resources that I'm going to give the class. Do you guys want some resources?
Yes.
Yeah, if you could please open up a separate window. We're going to be going back and forth, LinkedIn window and your resume window. So if you could please go to the group, Illinois
Okay.
Tech
So
Career
what
Services.
in LinkedIn?
Yes. Are you part of the LinkedIn group?
Yes.
Very
So
good.
Illinois.
Tech. Actually, I'll show you an easier way. On the left-hand side of your screen, I can see it under your recent Illinois Tech Career Services.
Yes.
Very good. So now you know how to find the index. Just find any comment that shows index and you can click on any of them. Scroll
Okay.
down until you see index. Keep scrolling. I see it. I saw one. You just passed it, the link. Very good. So this index is going to be your best friend, everybody on the call. This index did not originally start out as an index. It was merely a collection of links that were follow-up to career services appointments. However, once we started sharing it with students, students were like, wow, what a wealth of information. So we had to figure out a way to make it some sort of index. And the easiest way to do it was to create headings with a hashtag topic. So the first one that you're noticing on the screen from Satwika is hashtag alumni. Since we're talking about resume, if you could please proceed to hashtag resume, should be further down because it's alphabetical. So Ruben, remember how I showed you this at MTCC? So
Yep.
hashtag resume. Let me know if you have questions, Ruben, okay?
Uh,
Hashtag resume, and then the very first part where it says Illinois Tech, the third bullet, Illinois Tech resume guide, Illinois Tech resources. All you guys can check that out in your own spare time. And I may suggest to Satwika, if she wanted to change her template, she could click on Illinois Tech resources later. Scroll
Okay.
down a little bit, Satwika, please. If you see, there's a bunch of resume workshops. Those are all recordings, similar
Okay.
to what we have now, which is a group workshop. And then under the group workshops recordings, you see case studies. So the student comes to career services with the old version, and then we create a better version based on the work that the student does with career services. So if you could scroll back up, please, a little higher where it says resume design principles. It's bullet number 8, I think.
Yes.
Yes,
Should I click on it?
please. So I already covered bullet number 1, wherein everybody needs to think like the hiring manager in the job description. If you're going to a career fair, for example, where you may or may not have job descriptions, you need to find a way to make your resume relevant to the company. What are the projects they're working on? That sort of stuff. Okay, and then we spoke about you need to highlight your results instead of task descriptions. Anybody have any idea again of why we want results instead of task descriptions? Who gave me that answer earlier about confusing HR people if they did not do results?
Yeah, that was me.
All right, Hasib. So let me give you a more dramatic example of results versus descriptions. So usually,
Mhm.
and I want everybody to think back to their resumes as I share what I'm about to share. In the bullets of your resume, people simply talk about what they did. For example, somebody could say, I swept the floor. And then to give some indication of impact, they say, I swept the floor fast. Okay. Versus somebody could say, I led a team of 5 floor sweepers, introduced a process improvement that reduced sweeping time from 60 minutes to 5 minutes. Satwika, if you were the hiring manager between those two resume bullets, who would you call in for an interview, the first or the second?
The second.
Okay, anybody in the class disagree with Satwika's call?
Nope.
So it makes sense, right? That you need to talk about the results. And then let me just go through number 2, and then we're going to go back to Satwika's resume. Hiring managers have very little time, so you need to give them easy, fast access to relevant information versus complete information. What's the difference? Nobody knows?
Maybe just to be clear and concise to the point.
It's not clear and well, the reason you don't give complete is because if it's complete, it's not concise. Does it make sense, Hasib?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it could still be clear, but it's lengthy. The problem with that is we already said it, hiring managers, they don't have a lot of time. So you really need to give them what they want relative to what they're looking for. So you guys understand number 1 and number 2? Let us, as a class, go over Satwika's resume now and see where we can improve. Satwika, resume, please. So remember in bullet number 2, we said we need to give them relevant information sooner versus later. So let's take a look at the categories that Satwika has. She has education, she has technical skills, and then she has experience. Question to the class. If you were a hiring manager, what is more important to you? Skills or applied skills, also known as experience?
Applied skills.
Very good. So
Ex-
experience, Shivani, should kind of go above technical skills. Questions about that suggestion? Barnath is trying to say something? Satwika, did that make sense?
Yes. So I have to shift the experience section about technical skills.
Above the technical skills. Remember when we said they're very busy hiring managers? You see,
Mhm.
everything that we're talking about now are not only business practices, they're also strategic and they're also psychological. So if somebody's very, very busy and then I do not see what I'm looking for immediately, you run the risk of your resume being discounted as not relevant. So to that point, Satwika, the suggestion is experience is going to be more and more relevant than skills first. So put the
Yes.
experience above skills. Does it make sense?
Yes, I get it.
All right, good. So now let's dive into the bullets I'm reading this like a parser from the top to the bottom. So the first thing I'm seeing is Accenture Applications Development Senior Analyst from 2017 to 2022. So the first bullet that I'm seeing, and I want the class to tell me whether Satwika is talking description or is she talking accomplishment in the first bullet. She goes, develop machine learning models using Python, TensorFlow for predictive analytics projects with statistical methods. I can already tell. Is that a result or a description? First bullet.
Result.
No, it's not. You're describing that you develop. I suspect that the bullet number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are the ones with the results.
Yes.
So why did you put bullet number 1 first? I'm assuming it was more important than bullet number 2.
Basically, I wanted to demonstrate like what skills I used, and then I
Okay.
wrote down
Did you
the
guys hear? Did you hear what she just said? She said she wanted to demonstrate. When you apply for a job, is it about you or about what the company needs? Satwika?
company needs.
It's about what the company needs. So your thought of highlighting your results may not necessarily be the best move. You really need to give them what they're looking for. Vardeep, if you're not, are you sharing something? All right. So Vardeep, you have been muted. So say that again, please, Satwika.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Can you repeat the question?
So you have like 8 bullets. Are they arranged from top? Well, obviously it isn't because your first bullet wasn't, but for bullets 2 to 6, are they arranged from most important to least important?
Yes.
Okay. So your most important accomplishment at Accenture is that you executed data wrangling and exploratory analysis utilizing featured and okay, this is very wordy. Okay, what you're trying to say in your second bullet is that you increase model accuracy by 15%. I want the
Yes.
class to listen. Every time you share any bullets, you want to give just enough detail to frame the result. In this case, bullet number 2, the result was that Satwika increased accuracy by 15%. And then you
Yes.
could talk by executing data wrangling. So you only need to give as much information because they're very, very busy such that it frames the result. You don't have to give them the complete information. The complete information you can tell them in person if they call you in for an interview. Do you guys understand? It's very strategic because they're very busy. Did that make sense, Satwika?
Yes. So I should rephrase the second bullet as increase the model accuracy by 15% with the by executing data wrangling and
I
exploratory.
can't get into the details because we don't have a lot of time, but the general gist, Satwika,
Yes.
is what you said. I repeat the strategy. You only give them as much information to frame the 15% in this case. You decide for this bullet and the subsequent bullets what is enough data to frame the result. And let me tell you why, okay? Let me introduce the concept of character ninja. Character meaning keystrokes, okay? So here's a hypothetical situation for you guys. So let's just say that it's 4:30 on a Friday afternoon and I, the hiring manager, just went through 500 resumes. And guess who resume number 501 is? It's Satwika's resume, right? So I'm a human being. I'm very tired. I just saw 500 resumes. This is where I ask you the question, what is more enticing for me to read? Something that's jam-packed with information or something with more white space?
With more white space.
Exactly. So that's why I'm kind of like saying, be a character ninja. Whenever you talk about your bullets, only give them the result and give them only enough detail to frame the result. Everything else, all the rest of the words, i.e. characters, you could save for the interview once you get called. Because we want to take into consideration the psychological aspects of your resume. So do you think you can do that? So you said that bullets number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are already ranged according to priorities. Sometimes you may not even need all 6 bullets. Okay. Sometimes you can combine these bullets because it's not a matter of how many bullets there are. It's a matter of communicating your result in the least amount of words. Does it make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So do you think you could do that for Accenture and the rest of your other experience?
Yes, I'll do that. And how about the projects section? Should I
Same
modify?
thing.
Okay.
Same thing. You need to be talking about results with the project. So I'm glad you brought that up. Let me share for a second, Satwika, okay? But I want you to keep that resume up because I'm going to come back to you. Let me just stop sharing. I want to share something from the LinkedIn group. Any questions while you guys are waiting for me to open up what I
Yes, I
want
have
to
a
share?
question.
Go ahead,
So
please.
should she prioritize projects above like technical skills?
It depends on the job description.
But if we don't have that, like for the career fair,
Well, if you don't have it, then don't worry about it. Is that what you meant? Are
okay.
you saying that because you saw a projects tab that you need to have a project? Is that your question?
No, I do have a project, it's just where
It's just where you put it on the resume. So IO, again, relevant sooner versus later. If the project is totally relevant to the job description, then I would put it above skills. Does that make sense?
yes, thank you.
Yes. So I don't know if you guys are noticing the pattern, but it's really all about the job description, and there's no one size fits all with the answers. I always go back to the job description, or in the absence of a job description, what is the company looking for according to your research on the company? So sorry, class. So this is what I wanted to share on LinkedIn. And then Satwika, I'm going to come right back to you. I want to just share this really quickly. So here we go. Any other questions aside from IO? So I have an index open here.
Hi, I wanted to ask, how important is it if the resume is 1 or 2 pages? Like, does that really matter?
Good question. It certainly matters, but remember bullets 1 and 2. We said number 2, hiring managers don't have a lot of time, and that it's really about easy, fast access to complete information. It's not really 1 or 2 pages. It's about the relevance of the information in the resume. So if you have 2 pages of very relevant information to the job description, by all means, please include 2 pages, but still have to contend with the fact that they have very little time. Does it make sense?
Yeah.
So it's not really about 1 pages, 2 pages, 3 pages. It's about relevance to what the audience is looking for. So very good questions. Other questions while I find this bullet that I'm looking under. I guess when you have a bunch of screens open it's acting really strangely. Hashtag resume. All right, there we go. Under hashtag resume, now I even forgot what I wanted to share with you. Satrika, what did we have in your screen? You were going projects. Yeah, I remember.
Yes,
So, yeah, so go, under what you're saying, under hashtag resume, I want you to slowly scroll down. There are the workshops that I talked about earlier. There are the case studies. Under the case studies, you have the section that's called describing versus accomplishments and results all the way to career luck. The usual problem with resumes is students describe their tasks. Satrika didn't quite have that problem except for her first bullet. She knew how to talk about accomplishments and results, but if you have that problem, this is the section to be. So pop quiz for you guys. All of you guys on the call are hiring managers, okay? Have your hiring manager hat on, and I want you to tell me, as hiring managers, which candidate will you call in for an interview? You can put your answer in the chat, A, B, or C. Which candidate will you call in for an interview? A, B, or C?
I think B.
B? Who
Yeah.
else has a different answer? Any other answer? The actual answer is C. Why? B is not bad. B is definitely better than A, but C is much better than B. Why is that?
The results being labeled.
B. Very good. You guys catching this? So the effect that candidate C had on you guys thinking like hiring managers is the same effect that you need to have with the bullets in your resume. So let me give you another example to the projects discussion that we had. So that we opened up the first tab, describing versus accomplishments and results, results versus describing. This student had no experience except for project experience. So if you take a look at what you see on the screen, this student simply cut and pasted from the syllabus, and this is what showed up in the resume. This definitely is not showing results to the hiring manager. But when I had the results discussion, take a look at what the student transformed the bullets to. This now indicates what they did with the tasks in the class. So if you had a project that's very relevant to the job description or the company, let's just say the professor said, do your project this way, Ruben. But Ruben went home and he said, oh, I know what, there's a better way to do that. So Ruben did it. He implemented it. He got fantastic results, shared it with the professor. The professor loved it. Ruben actually introduced a process improvement accomplishment. Or for the same project, the professor said, turn it in 4 weeks. Ruben turned it in 3 weeks, ahead of schedule, accomplishment. Our last description, professor said, submit your project in 4 weeks, but Ruben turned it in 4 weeks, on-time delivery, accomplishment. However, unless Ruben tells you, nobody knows that aside from delivering the project as scheduled, he actually had 2 other projects and 5 papers, and all of these were due at the end of the term. So do you think they would like to have that quality and know that about Ruben so that they call him in for an interview or even hire him? You guys are getting the distinction between results that you need to highlight for the employer. Any questions about that concept? Questions? So let me go back to, so what I'm showing you. So remember how we said you create your resume to stand out from the employer's perspective, focus on results. focus on the reader being extremely busy, only resonating with relevant information. And then the temporary fix that I showed for you guys, because we're in a time crunch. You do not possibly have all the time in the world between now and Wednesday or Thursday to put in the changes. So at the very least, this is what you need to do between now and the first day of career fair. You need to improve your bullets, but you need to focus on results and accomplishments. And then some of you guys may have a summary, some of you may not have a summary. If you listen to the workshops and the case studies, you can see people transforming. The nice thing about the summary is it's very strategic. It's on top of the resume. So sometimes people have a summary or sometimes what's called an objective. However, they are not maximizing its positioning, wherein you could tell the hiring manager exactly your relevance immediately. So it's a good way to do the summary. I mean, it's a good way for you to catch their attention immediately. Any questions about what I shared so far? So we showed you into the LinkedIn group. Let's go back to Satwika. She has more questions about her resume relative to what I just spoke about.
Yes.
So Satwika, according to the job description, should your projects be higher or lower?
I think they should be higher.
Higher than skills, but I think your experience with Accenture is higher than
Yes.
projects, right?
So first
So-
experience, then projects, and then skills.
Very good. Very good, Satwika.
And thank you so much for your suggestions and tips. And I'll enhance my resume by including just the results. And I'll be
Yes.
ready for the career fair.
And then remember, your resume is part, I mean, you can tell from the very beginning, you're trying to maximize all the white space. It's very obvious that you're cramming the information. Don't forget the psychological 4:45 p.m. on a Friday example that I gave you, okay?
Yes. Yes.
All right, thank you for volunteering, Satwika. Who's next? We have time for probably one more. Who wants to volunteer?
I can volunteer.
All right, Sai Surya, please
I'll
share.
just share my screen.
I want the class to give critiques, and then I will allow Sai Surya to give a self-critique, and then I will give my suggestions for the career fair. So go ahead, we're still waiting.
I'm sorry, it's just taking a second.
Gotcha. Who's the last person who registered as name? Name, please change your name because I'm taking attendance and I'm following up with you guys personally on LinkedIn. Name, please unmute yourself or identify.
Oh, okay.
All right. If you could make it a little bigger, please. Thank you. Applying for an internship?
No,
Full-time?
full time, yeah.
Not good. You don't want to start with education.
Okay.
You don't want to start with skills. I would start with professional experience if this is full-time.
Okay.
So quick question to you. And
Yeah.
what I'm about to ask Sai Surya is the first question that is asked in all the workshops. It has to do with resume design principle number one. It's always about the hiring manager and their job description. So quick question for you, Sai Surya. With everything that you have on this resume and for relevance, which part of this resume is going to be most impressive to the job descriptions you've been looking at?
I think my experiences.
Which part? Okay. Are you guys noticing how she's saying the experiences? She's expecting me to do the same thing that she's expecting with the way she wrote the resume. Okay. Your job as job seekers is to connect the dots for the very busy hiring manager. Okay. They're
Mhm.
parsers, 4:45 in the afternoon. They're tired. You need to tell them why you're relevant immediately. So I repeat the question. Sai Surya, which part is most impressive according to the job description you're looking at?
I think the keywords in the, like, if it's skills, then I'd say they would look at
No. What's more important to the hiring manager, skills or applied skills?
applied skills.
So tell me which applied skill is most impressive to me as the hiring manager.
I'm
Which
sorry.
experience?
I feel like that depends on the job.
Okay, that's not a good answer because I suspect you plan on just giving them a general resume. To your point, it depends on the reader, which implies to me that you plan on having a general resume. True or false?
So I should explain that a lot of my experience
No,
is
you
in.
cannot. Hang on. Class, notice how she's trying to explain this to me. A resume is a piece of paper you're not there to explain. So if I don't get what I need immediately just by reading, guess where Sai Surya's resume went? I think you know the answer to that, right? So I repeat what I said earlier. It's your job as the job seeker to connect the dots for them. It depends is unacceptable because when she says it depends, she's going to include everything. And she's now expecting me as the very busy hiring manager to read the entire resume and say, this one looks good. Oh, that one, she qualified. They're not going to do that. Do you understand what's going on?
Yeah.
So I repeat the question. Which one is most impressive?
Which one of my experiences?
Remember, you're not here to explain, so just point to me.
I think the first one.
Mechanical engineering intern?
Yeah.
Very good. So what's the second most impressive?
The third one.
The third one, manufacturing engineering. Okay, so for the purposes of our career fair on Wednesday, let's work on the bullets for her first most impressive. So class, her first bullet, work on design, engineering, manufacturing. Is that a description or is that a result?
It's the description.
Very good. You have 3 bullets, Surya. Were the
Yeah.
bullets arranged from top priority to least?
No.
Okay, so you need to take that into consideration when you rewrite this, right? So
Mhm.
always, as people are reading from top to bottom, top is always top priority,
Okay.
okay? So since you and I are discussing this for the session, off the 3 bullets, because you know the background, even though you didn't word it quote unquote correctly, right, Surya? But
Mhm.
according to the 3 trains of thoughts in those 3 bullets, which of those 3 bullets is most impressive?
I would say the third one.
Very good. Okay, Glass, if you're noticing how I keep on drilling down to relevance, that's why I keep on going, which one is most impressive? Because that is going to catch their attention. We started with the entire resume. We talk about the placement of your categories. And then once we started getting into the bullets, I still kept on saying which one is most impressive to them. And then even as Sai Surya said that the mechanical engineering intern was the most impressive, as I got into the bullets, I still drilled down into the same question. Of the bullets, which one is most impressive? Are you understanding
Yeah.
how the work we're doing is trying to get it to relevance?
Mm-hmm.
Questions about the concept from anybody in the class or Sai Surya? No questions? We will work on our third bullet. She said collaborated with a multidisciplinary team. How many disciplines, Sai Surya?
At least 5.
Okay, so collaborated on a 5-discipline team. How many members on the team?
It was a huge team, so I'm
Exactly why you need to tell them. Did you guys hear that? Sai Surya knows that it's a huge team, but you forgot to mention it. How huge is huge?
I wouldn't know because we worked with John Deere, so
Yes.
I'm not sure how many people on their end was involved.
Do you understand the difference between saying I worked on a team of 2 people versus I work on a team of 100? Do you see
So
how critical this information is?
I think my team would have been 4 people, but we worked with other teams, is what I meant.
So you're not answering the questions. The
Sorry,
questions are
what?
very directed so that you stand up. So you see what homework you need to do, Caesarea?
Not exactly. So the question was how many people were in the other teams? I'm not sure I'm catching.
No, you said you collaborated, because even if you work with a separate company, how many
Mhm.
people in the other company? Maybe you interface with 10 of them. So 4 from your team plus 10 of them. You actually collaborated with a team of 14 people versus
Okay.
the way that you worded it.
Okay, so I should mention the exact number of people
Wouldn't you be impressed if you were the reader?
Yeah,
Are you understanding where this discussion is going?
yeah, that makes sense.
Does the class have any question about how I'm drilling down to bring out the magnitude and the impact of your bullets are and how important it is, because it frames you in a different light? Did you see that with Caesarea? She just said she collaborated in a multidisciplinary team, but she said it was 5 disciplines, all right? Somebody could say multidisciplinary is 3, 5 is quite impressive. And then she said she only worked on a team of 4, but I had to encourage her to tell me that. The way she read it, she didn't say it. And then when I probed further, she said, from the other company, it was bigger. And then I just picked up a magic number 10. Caesarea is going to go do some more homework. And the reason you guys need to come up with, even if you're guessing, you need to be coming up with a likely story if they ask you a question about what you wrote down on the resume. So number 1, Caesarea's approach of not having any numbers would be good if she truly didn't know, but I suspect you guys really didn't do the work of thinking of your impact before this discussion. I suspect your resumes are much, much more impressive now that you have the information that I'm sharing with you today. Would you agree, Caesarea?
Yeah, I will.
Okay, so collaborate on multidisciplinary to refine design. How many design specifications did you refine?
So how many? I would have to count it because there were like my
Okay,
manager.
it's not a matter of you answering the question. Do you understand what I'm doing? This is the more important piece.
Yeah, but how do I specify the exact number? I don't understand that.
I don't know, but let me give you a strategy. So, do you have LinkedIn open by any chance? Because we only have 10 more minutes left.
No, I
I will
don't.
finish this discussion. Okay,
You can
stop
open it
sharing,
right now.
please. And
Okay.
I will, the usual problem that students have is, I mean, if we were under a time crunch, I would spend more time with Caesarea. If you guys notice how I kept on asking her questions, probing into what she wrote, in the absence of a partner, you could do it with a partner and you could see some of that actually in the index. I suspect you may or may not have all that time to do that between now and Wednesday. So Caesarea, do your best. Okay, but if you guys notice, to have an efficient and effective resume, it takes much more work than just putting a bunch of words on a piece of paper. So let me go to under index. Remember how I said earlier, the usual problem is kind of like Caesarea right now. She doesn't know how to quantify her results. So this thing where it says impact using ChatGPT-2 is one way to do it. You could use GPT to do this because Floresca cannot possibly spend time one-on-one with all you guys. That's why we're having a group session right now, but I want to impart to you, the abilities that ChatGPT can help you with to that issue. So just to give you a background of this one, there's 3 prompts. All right, so what I want you to get out of this share is the 3rd prompt. The first prompt is what you're seeing on screen. But the third prompt that applies to Caesarea is this. This is the third prompt that you're seeing. So I'm telling GPT, great tailoring to the original job description. From the original description, I'm directing GPT to ask me at least 2 questions. And in Caesarea's case, she could tell GPT to ask me 5 questions for this bullet, for that bullet that we were just talking about in the previous screen, so that GPT can create another version that's more results focused, impactful, and tell it that the original input is missing metrics, minimize your word count, and be compelling. Caesarea, you getting ideas?
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, so the first one, I was trying to do it with you, but obviously we're time limited, so I just showed you one of those resources. Again, it's in the index under ChatGPT-2. If I scroll up higher, this optimized bullet with AI ChatGPT. So one was you tell GPT to ask you questions, and then you tell it what you need the output to be. Okay. Since we're at it, when you use AI, the output is only as good as your prompt. That's why I'm spending all this time to talk to you guys about design principles, because if you don't know what instructions to give artificial intelligence, then it's dumb, because it's looking for you to give it directions. Keep giving it instructions after each response. And if you notice the previous example, that was the third prompt that I shared with you. Okay, I trust that you guys will go back and listen to it and never simply cut and paste. So the example that you're seeing was the student. They sent me a message on LinkedIn on a Sunday. I didn't respond to that. Here's the actual verbiage. All right. So Sunday, I didn't respond to them until Tuesday. And then Wednesday, the student would give response to me. But I noticed that the student was not getting it. So I told them to go to GPT. So I said, give GPT the details, ask it to ask you questions, just like the example that I just showed you in the YouTube video, to give a concise, impactful, results-oriented bullet. Give the original bullet, like Caesarea can give the original bullet. And then you can also say, give me, GPT, give me 10 revisions of whatever answer it gave you, Caesarea, and then you still tell it that it needs to be concise, impactful, and results-oriented. So you see how it becomes a time saver, and you don't need Floresca to do this work for you, because you can do GPT and help you with some of that. If this wasn't during career fair, I worked much closely with students to like really refine those bullets, especially for jobs that are kind of really critical to you. Any questions, Caesarea, about what I just shared with you?
No, I'll try this and improve my points.
Very good. Anybody else have any questions? Otherwise, I'm going to recap what I suggested to the beginning premise of this call. We said in a time crunch, what's the best way to improve an existing resume? Okay. And ideally, you need to address all of these, of which I showed you the resources in the index, the resume design principles. But the temporary fix for you between now and career fair is, as we suggested, improve on your bullets, focus on results, because most of your bullets are probably talking descriptions right now. And we saw a couple of your classmates already, except for Satwika. Her bullets 2 to 6 were actually quite good. And then if you want to consider the summary, I didn't speak about it a lot during this call, but if you listen to the workshops, I have suggestions about the summary. And actually, while we're at it, let me give you a quick insight into that. So you see under case studies, case study 5 is a freshman. So a freshman from high school doesn't have a whole lot of things to put on the resume, but take a look at what the freshman did after having a conversation. So he created a summary, and what do you notice about the summary? what he put in the summary is catching the attention of the reader immediately, even though Benjamin is only a freshman. It's talking about results all over the place as a summary. Even though they're a freshman, he's definitely hooking them. So when you listen to, if you have time to listen to the workshops, this is the result that you would get if you applied it and if we had much, much more time versus this time crunch before the career fair. Questions about what I have on screen? Otherwise, I have the last 4 minutes for any final questions that you guys have. If we're connected on LinkedIn, as you do this homework between now and Wednesday, feel free to message me on LinkedIn. Otherwise, any final questions? I hope this helped you to do this. No questions? All right, guys. Good luck in your work between now and I guess you can see me at the career fair. Feel free to stop by for other questions, non-resume, because I suspect you all have had printed out your quote unquote final versions for them. Jayshree, only after you apply what I changed, because I'm not going to cover the same things over and over again after I just covered this information. So Jayshree, yes, after you make some changes, because I don't want to tell you what I just told you on the call. Other questions? Well, thank you so much, everybody, for attending this session for Resume Workshop, more specifically for what do you do when you're in a time crunch. We will see you at the other sessions and see you at the career fair. See you on LinkedIn. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.